Welcome to Bed Crime Stories Podcast. I'm your host, T. And if true crime is your jam, and like me you enjoy delving into unsolved cases, trying to figure out who done it, please consider subscribing. Also, if you find value in my content, please hit that like button. Over the course of the 11 months that Summer Wells has been missing, her father, Don, has given several interviews to the press and had many a phone call with various YouTubers. He's only gone silent of late because he's sitting in the slammer after pleading guilty to a drunken driving charge, which caused his probation from a previous charge to be revoked. At age 57, Don Wells continues to make poor life choices. I'm going to put out a trigger warning here. Today I'm going to be talking about Sibling SA. Chris McDonough played a call between Don and his stepsister Mary recently. Don had a clear objective during the call, and that was to convince Mary to try and get their sister Jeanie to not press charges of SA against him, to just drop the whole thing and call it a day. Don tells Mary that he apologized to Jeanie, and he's not sure what else she wants, as if his apology could make up for robbing Jeanie of her innocence and hurting her repeatedly over many years. An apology cannot undo the damage to that woman's psyche, in my opinion. That stuff goes deep. And let's face it, Don didn't proactively call Jeanie and apologize for SAing her. He only contacted her after she and her sisters told the authorities what had happened to them after learning about their niece Summer's disappearance and wanting the authorities to know what they were dealing with in Don Wells. Mary tells Don that the only thing Jeanie wants is for him to come clean about what happened to Summer. Jeanie did that for Summer. That's all she asked for in return for all the abuse he dealt out to her as a young, innocent child, still developing her sense of self and the world. Well, that's the one thing Don isn't willing to do, even to get Jeanie to drop the whole thing. Why? Well, I suspect that whatever happened to Summer may be worse in terms of a crime and potential prison sentence than the SA accusations. Don's in a catch-22. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. The only thing that may push him is a plea deal, and I hope that happens. Summer deserves not to vanish into the atmosphere without anyone knowing what happened and where she is. She deserves that at the very least. Don got himself into all this trouble, he and he alone, well, maybe along with Candace when it comes to Summer, but as far as the other trouble in Utah, he's the one who did that. Don has confessed to SAing Jeanie starting when she was 5 and he was 12. Of course, Don doesn't word it like that. Instead, he makes it out like his little 5-year-old sister was a willing participant and even the aggressor. He said she liked him, and he thought, cool. She was 5. Does cool mean that Jeanie seeming to like him meant that he could groom her and SA her? Maybe little Jeanie did like Don when she first met him. She probably thought her new stepbrother was going to be her friend, someone who'd have her back and protect her like big brothers are supposed to. Maybe even teach her some things. Not the things Don chose to teach her, but innocent things, like how to make a stone skip on the water, or how to throw a baseball. Don says he thought it was strange that 5-year-old Jeanie was interested in him. He's saying that Jeanie at age 5 was basically coming on to him. It's a clever way for Don to shift the responsibility for the SA onto Jeanie. It's his justification for the whole thing. She liked me. The way he said it reminded me of how he says Summer chose him and loved him more than her mother Candace when she was born and was a tiny toddler. I hope to God that he wasn't doing the same things he did to Jeanie to Summer because Summer picked him and loved him. A total of 7 women have come forward to say that Don Wells SA'd them. While we don't have the proof to know if that's all true in all 7 cases, Don has admitted he did this to Jeanie, and he seems very concerned about who the other females are. Don is not a one-time offender. At the very least, we know that he did this to Jeanie repeatedly over many years. I want to know how he got away with this stuff for such a long time under his father's roof. Yes, Don Wells Sr. has dementia, which makes it hard to point the finger at him and say anything critical. But Mary has told us that Don Sr. bailed Don Jr. out of trouble many times over, hired lawyers to represent Don when he got in trouble, allegedly told his daughters to drop this or he'll stop talking to them. I'm sorry to say this, but it looks like Don was enabled by his father, and it looks like the girls were left to fend for themselves with a predator running free in their house. Parents often feel guilty for getting divorced. Maybe Don's dad felt bad that Don ended up with an abusive stepfather, and maybe he felt he didn't protect his son adequately. Don Sr. maybe didn't know this was going on until much later. But Jeanie did go to her mother when Don got out of jail, came home, and tried to pick off where he left off with her. He thought he'd have free range to wander into her bedroom once again, but Jeanie was no longer having it, and she told her mother. I believe she wanted to pursue charges against her stepbrother, but was talked down by her parents. In my opinion, and I'm sorry to say this, Mary and Jeanie, your parents let you down. I'm terribly sorry to say that, but if the parents were told and did nothing about it, then they weren't doing right by their daughters. So, after hearing about all this, I decided to look into SA by a sibling. Here's what I learned. SA by a sibling is less discussed than other types of family violence. It's a dirty little secret, something so taboo that no one wants to talk about it or admit to it. The victims don't want to talk because they're ashamed. Maybe they feel complicit after being groomed for a period and after being subjected to this over time. No one wants to believe that a brother or a sister would do that type of thing to another sibling. But guess what? It happens. It's not that much of a rarity. Apparently, when a sibling is accused of such a thing, the common excuse is that it was the result of normal childhood curiosity. And that's exactly what Don Wells said about his situation with Jeanie in his call to Mary. However, the experts say that sibling SA is a very different beast from a child's natural curiosity. Dr. Tony Kavanaugh Johnson, a licensed clinical psychologist in California, in her book Understanding Children's Sexual Behaviors, What's Natural and Healthy, writes, "Natural and healthy sexual exploration equates to an information gathering process wherein children explore each other's and their own bodies by looking and touching, i.e., playing doctor. The feelings of the children regarding the sexual behavior are generally lighthearted and spontaneous." End quote. That is normal childhood curiosity. That is not sibling SA. Sibling SA has been described as a violent form of control that leaves the victim feeling afraid and alone. Afraid because it's going down in their own house, in their own bedroom possibly, and alone because they often feel they can't tell their parents. I obviously don't know for sure, but I suspect that this violent control was what Don Wells subjected 5-year-old Jeanie to. He wasn't playing doctor with her. Don had likely already gone through the playing doctor bit when he was maybe 5. But by age 12, Don knew full well what was what. According to an article called Sibling SA Facts Parents Should Know that I read on the Very Well Mind website, SA among siblings is much more common than most people know. According to the article, kids are more likely to be SA'd by their siblings than they are by their parents. The article goes on to say that sadly, many parents do not take appropriate action when they find out that one of their kids is SAing another one of their kids. A lot of victims don't even tell their parents because they're afraid of upsetting them. Imagine that. The victims don't tell because they want to protect their parents from the truth. That's so sad. A little kid staying mum because he or she doesn't want to upset mom or dad. Because sibling SA is often hidden, it's difficult to determine how prevalent it really is. One report suggested that about 5% of kids are involved in sibling SA. According to the article that I read, the SA by the perpetrators is likely to become more intrusive over time. If sibling offenders aren't caught and/or don't get treatment, they tend to commit more of it over time. So someone like Don Wells likely increased his SA as time went on and likely found additional victims. Allegedly. A 2012 study published in the Journal of Interpersonal Violence found that parents were much more likely to blame their child for the abuse or doubt the story when the accused offender was a minor. So perhaps the parents blow it off as natural childhood curiosity, and they fail to examine this situation more closely and blame the offender. Here's a shocking statistic. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, more than 1/3 of SA offenses against children are committed by other minors. Why? Because of the easy access. Underage offenders are more likely to pick a victim from their own household because the victim is right there in the same house. According to the article, the average age of a juvenile SA offender is 15. Most RSOs apparently commit their first attack before the age of 18. The article also said that as many as 1 in 8 juvenile offenders are under the age of 12. For parents who are concerned that this may be going on with their children, the experts say they should watch out for the following: a child behaving in a sexual way with toys or other children, sudden changes in behavior, a child suddenly becoming either withdrawn or clingy, physical signs such as pain, sores, redness, bedwetting, changes in eating habits, one child in the household avoiding another sibling or being afraid of that sibling, mood changes. The article also listed some factors that may contribute to a child committing sibling SA. They include the following: age differences. Sibling SA may be more common when there's a significant age gap. This was certainly true in the case of Don Wells with his stepsister Jeanie. He was 7 years older than she was. Children who've been SA'd themselves are more likely to SA a sibling. Is it possible that Don Wells himself was also a victim of SA? Neglect. Kids who are neglected by their caretakers may be more likely to engage in sibling SA. Kids who are placed in a position of responsibility for younger kids may lack the ability to manage their own behavior and may abuse the power their parents have bestowed on them. Personally, I find it devastatingly sad to read about this and to hear about so many victims of sibling SA who never tell their parents. Jeanie and Mary didn't tell anyone until many years later. That's my understanding. Their impetus for sharing this painful chapter in their childhoods was summer. They exposed dirty, humiliating secrets to help a niece that they'd never met. No one would have known that Don Wells was an SAer were it not for his stepsisters. The information Jeanie and Mary shared changed the entire picture of Summer's disappearance. Mary, Jeanie, and the other alleged victims are perhaps the only heroes in this case. Pretty much everyone else who had a chance to share information about Summer and about June 15th has lied. Lied to protect themselves, lied to protect their kids, lied just because they think it's fun to mess around with the truth. Candace thought it was funny to prank people like Mary and YouTubers who've been trying to help find her daughter Summer. In my opinion, it takes a special kind of sick to find humor in one's own daughter's disappearance. As I wrap this video up, let me just say that if you have suffered from Sibling SA or any kind of SA, you're not alone. And it's never too late to get professional help to process it and heal from it. Many survivors of this form of SA never tell anyone about it during childhood. It's only when they become adults and they look back that they bring it up. According to the article that I read, adult survivors are often trying to work out for themselves whether what they experienced was Sibling SA or if it was simply childhood curiosity. It's pretty clear to me that what Don Wells doled out to his stepsisters and others, allegedly, was not innocent curiosity. The age difference, the amount of time it went on, and although we don't know the specifics, most likely the nature of the activity, all scream Sibling SA. To Mary, Jeanie, and any other victims of Don's SA, I'm so sorry that you went through that. I'm gonna leave it at that for today. I hope you found this interesting. If so, please hit that like button. Until the next time on Bed Crime Stories.